Okay, back for part 2. Before I continue, I'd also like to mention my first iOS game, Cosmic Balance, is out, so I appreciate anybody who wants to watch the video of it on my channel, or anybody who wants to get it on the iOS store and give me any feedback. Please, I'm really interested in it, and some of the artwork was made using Animate, so that's pretty cool. So, we're going to continue now trying to fix some of our problems. So, problem number 1, which I've noticed on the system, is we get to a certain point and they just disappear. And that's no good. And that's because of this sync in the 3D region. We don't need these. So they're going and problem solved. So the next thing we're going to want is they're going to go on endlessly, and we don't really want that. So I'm going to go to the module library, go to particle, and I'm going to grab this kill, put it in here, and this will allow us to kill the particles. So if you have a look at the time, it says older than 100 frames. So after 100 frames, they'll die, which you can see means they don't reach the whole distance. So I'm just going to turn this up to about 150, and that should be enough to cover the whole screen. So they are being killed, but they're getting killed somewhere up here. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to change our emitter to assign a random number, and 1 to 4 because that's our drawing numbers, and our rendering we're going to not render as a dot, we're going to use the particle type. So now by just doing that, we now have particles of all these bubbles nicely coming up to the top. Maybe I've made some of these bubbles a little bit too big, but you can fix that sort of thing. So now I'm actually fairly happy with this result, except for one thing. I like it to sway a bit more. I also think I might like to make some of these bubbles a bit smaller. So let's go to the bubble layer, head back to the start. I really do think some of these are just a bit too big. I might make that a little bit different shape. So let's have a look at this now. Yeah, that's a bit better. So now I'm going to show you one more trick. So let's go back to our network view. And so the one more thing I'd like to just finish off this effect is the bubbles really need to be swaying a little bit as they come up. To do that, we need some gravity in the X direction. So I'm going to click on this to make an equation for it. And I'm going to create this, and so what I want to do now is go through our frames and create a keyframe, and so there should be a button here for that. So create a keyframe, generate a keyframe. So you can choose how far apart you want these to be. It's not an exact science, but I'm just going to pick these to be simple, but the more detail you put into this, the better your result will be. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to type in a value, and so I'm going to make that 25. I'm going to make this one positive. I'll take this one back down to negative. These may be too big. So now, let's have a look at our result. We now have some sway in the bubbles. Maybe the sway is too much, but you can just make the numbers smaller. So let's look at this in our main camera. So we have some bubbles coming up and swaying in the water. So hopefully you've learned something about particles in this, and you can start creating your own particle systems. Any feedback I'd love to hear, and I'd love to also see any systems that you create. Hopefully I'll do a few more particle ones soon. I'd also like to go through the whole module library and make tutorials on all the different things in the module library, because there's so much you can do and so much that people don't see. So thank you for watching, and I hope this helped.